Hello there, my sleepy citizens. Tonight, we journey into the shadowed streets of Gotham City, where mysteries lurk and the Dark Knight stands vigilant against the forces of chaos. We bring you tales of Batman, uncovering different sides of the man behind the mask. And as our journey through these stories winds down, a calm ambience of Gotham's streets will carry you throughout the night, bringing you to restful sleep without interruptions from any ads. If you enjoy these tales, please be sure to give us a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what story you'd like to hear next. But for now, let's get cozy and step into the world of Gotham. Rain swept across Gotham in relentless sheets, transforming the city into a realm of reflections and distorted shadows. Each droplet carried the glow of neon signs and street lamps, creating countless tiny mirrors that fractured reality into kaleidoscopic fragments. From his vantage point atop the old Gotham clock tower, Batman watched the deserted carnival district below, a collection of weathered attractions and faded nostalgia that seemed particularly forlorn in the midnight downpour. The carnival had closed for the season weeks ago, its rides and games shuttered against the approaching winter. Yet tonight, a single attraction showed signs of life: the ancient House of Mirrors, its windows glowing with an eerie blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat through the rain. Batman's cape hung heavy with moisture, the specialized weave gradually shedding water rather than absorbing it. The constant patter of raindrops against his cowl created a white noise that seemed to isolate him further from the sleeping city. "Any movement yet?" Alfred's voice came through his cowl, calm and precise despite the late hour. "Nothing obvious," Batman replied, his tone equally measured. "But someone's definitely inside." The power was restored to that section of the park approximately 40 minutes ago. The House of Mirrors had featured prominently in the riddle left at the scene of the latest bizarre crime, the theft of 12 antique mirrors from the Gotham Historical Society, each one associated with a different founding family of the city. It was the 7th such crime in 2 weeks, each more outlandish than the last, yet all bearing the unmistakable signature of the same perpetrator. "I've been researching our dynamic duo," Alfred continued. "Tweedledum and Tweedledee, or, to use their given names, Dumfrey and Diva Tweed. Their criminal career has been rather whimsical compared to your usual rogues. There's nothing whimsical about what they did to the security guards at Gotham First National," Batman countered, though his voice remained calm rather than harsh. "Their pranks might seem comical at first glance, but there's always an undercurrent of cruelty." The twins had rigged an elaborate system of mirrors at the bank, creating illusions that had disoriented the guards so severely that 2 were still hospitalized with vertigo. Their crimes mixed childish humor with genuine malice, a dangerous combination that had left 4 people injured and millions in property damaged or stolen. "Indeed, sir," Alfred agreed. "I've compiled their pattern of crimes, and there is method to their madness. Each target has historical significance relating to Gotham's carnival history. Did you know that many of the city's founding families made their fortunes in traveling shows before establishing the permanent carnival district in 1868? Rain continued to fall, creating rivulets down Batman's cowl that caught the dim light like tear tracks. The city's founders weren't just industrialists and bankers. They brought their entertainment businesses here because Gotham was at a crossroads of railway lines, perfect for bringing in audiences from across the eastern seaboard. "Your knowledge of local history never ceases to impress, sir," Alfred remarked. "And it seems our twins share your appreciation for Gotham's carnival heritage. Each of their targets has been connected to one of the original 7 carnival families. Batman's enhanced vision caught a flicker of movement near the House of Mirrors' side entrance. Possible activity on the east side, he sub-vocalized, going to move closer. He descended from the clock tower with practiced ease, using his grapnel to control his descent through the rain-swept darkness. The carnival grounds were eerily silent beneath the downpour, the usual creaks and groans of the rides muffled by the constant drumming of water against canvas and weathered wood. The scents of damp earth and old popcorn lingered in the air, creating an atmosphere of abandoned dreams and forgotten laughter. As Batman approached the House of Mirrors, the blue light pulsing from within seemed to intensify, casting strange shadows across the puddled midway. The building itself was a relic from an earlier era, a Victorian monstrosity of gingerbread trim and faded grandeur that had somehow survived decades of renovation and modernization around it. According to the original blueprints, Alfred's voice came through again. The House of Mirrors was constructed with several secret passages, ostensibly for maintenance, but rumors suggest they were used for less reputable purposes during Prohibition. Batman positioned himself near a weathered service door, its peeling paint revealing layers of history beneath. The carnival families weren't above smuggling operations when times were tough. The passages probably connected to the old sewer tunnels that ran to the harbor. Precisely, sir. I've overlaid the historical tunnel maps with the current sewer system. There appear to be 3 viable entry points to the House of Mirrors that wouldn't trigger any modern security systems. Rain continued to drum against Batman's cape as he carefully tested the service door. It was unlocked, an invitation rather than an oversight. They want me to come inside, he noted quietly. This is part of their game. The twins do have a theatrical flair, Alfred acknowledged, though I would advise caution. Their childish demeanor masks considerable intelligence and preparation. Batman slipped through the door into a narrow maintenance corridor, leaving the rain behind but not the dampness. The air inside felt thick with moisture and the peculiar stillness of long-abandoned spaces. The blue light was stronger here, pulsing down the corridor in rhythmic waves that seemed almost hypnotic. The corridor led to the heart of the House of Mirrors, a labyrinth of reflective surfaces arranged to confuse and disorient visitors. But unlike the carnival attraction of memory, these mirrors had been augmented with technology that Batman recognized immediately. They've modified the mirrors with the same technology Jervis Tetch used in his hypnosis devices last year, he sub-vocalized to Alfred. Less powerful, but spread throughout the entire structure. Intriguing, Alfred replied. The Tweeds have never shown aptitude for such technical sophistication before. They're strong-arm artists and pranksters, not engineers. They've had help, Batman concluded, studying the nearest mirror's edge where a thin strip of circuitry was barely visible. The question is, who, and to what end? The maze of mirrors stretched before him, each reflection multiplying infinitely to create the illusion of endless space. Batman moved cautiously, his training allowing him to maintain orientation despite the disorienting effects. The pulsing blue light seemed to emanate from the center of the labyrinth, drawing him inward like a moth to flame. I'm sending you the floor plan based on city records, Alfred informed him, though I suspect our mischievous friends have made significant modifications. Indeed, the layout had been altered. Walls had been moved, new mirrors installed, creating a puzzle that bore little resemblance to the original blueprints. Batman relied on his training, marking his path subtly with small devices that emitted a frequency only his cowl could detect. Even so, the maze seemed to shift around him, as if the very architecture was in flux. "There's something else at work here," he murmured. "The mirrors aren't just reflective surfaces, they're reacting somehow." As if responding to his observation, the blue light intensified, and a childish giggle echoed through the labyrinth, impossible to pinpoint in the fractured acoustics of the mirrored space. "Welcome, welcome, Dark Knight dear," a voice called out, its sing-song quality bouncing off countless reflective surfaces. "So glad you've come to play. We've waited patiently all day," another voice chimed in, nearly identical to the first, but with a slightly higher pitch. Tweedledum and Tweedledee, speaking in their characteristic rhyming pattern, Batman remained still, analyzing the acoustics to determine their location. "Your game has gone too far," he replied, his voice calm but carrying. "People have been hurt." "Hurt? Oh my, what a terrible word," the first voice responded. "To suggest we meant harm is simply absurd," added the second. The blue light pulsed faster now, and Batman noticed something concerning. The mirrors weren't just reflecting his image, they were altering it subtly, creating versions of himself that moved slightly out of sync with his own motions. "Alfred," he sub-vocalized, "the mirrors are incorporating some kind of augmented reality technology. They're not just reflecting, they're projecting. Most concerning, sir, especially given the twins' access to the historical mirrors. Some of those artifacts have rather unsavory reputations in folklore." Batman continued deeper into the labyrinth, where the blue light grew more intense. "Folklore isn't my concern. Whatever technology they're using, it's affecting perception. I need to find the control center." Come along, don't be slow," Tweedledum's voice echoed. "We've such wonders and terrors to show," Tweedledee finished. The center of the labyrinth opened suddenly before Batman, a circular chamber where dozens of mirrors created a dizzying kaleidoscope of reflections. At the center stood an ornate antique mirror on an elaborate stand, its frame carved with symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed through peripheral vision. "The Solomon Mirror," Alfred identified in his ear, "stolen from the Historical Society 3 days ago. According to legend, King Solomon used it to trap demons who refused to help build his temple." "I don't believe in demons, Alfred," Batman replied quietly. "But I do believe in technology disguised as magic." The Solomon mirror glowed with the source of the pulsing blue light, its surface not reflecting the room but showing instead a panoramic view of Gotham City from above. The image shifted and flowed, zooming in on specific locations: the major banks, power stations, water treatment facilities, and other critical infrastructure. "Oh, he's found our little control center." Tweedledum's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "Now the real fun begins. You'll see," Tweedledee added with malicious glee. Batman approached the mirror cautiously, scanning it with his cowl's sensors. "They're using it as a display for some kind of coordinated attack plan. The stolen mirrors have been placed at strategic locations throughout Gotham." "Like satellite relays," Alfred suggested. "But relaying what, precisely?" The answer came in the form of a ripple across the Solomon mirror's surface. The image of Gotham distorted, buildings seeming to waver and streets appearing to flood with impossible waters. For a moment, the city in the mirror looked like an alien landscape, frightening and unrecognizable. "Tomorrow's weather calls for confusion," sang Tweedledum, finally stepping into view from behind one of the surrounding mirrors. He was dressed in his trademark outfit, a rotund figure in a schoolboy-like ensemble that made his middle-aged face look even more incongruous. A chance of mass delusion. Tweedledee appeared from the opposite side, identical except for the slight difference in height and the pitch of his voice. Batman held his ground, analyzing the twins and the mirror behind them. "You're planning to use these mirrors to create city-wide hallucinations. The technology you stole from Tetch, amplified through relays placed at strategic points." "Oh, he is the detective, they say." Tweedledum clapped his hands in mock delight. "But knowing our plan won't save the day," Tweedledee countered with a smirk. "The process has already begun." Tweedledum gestured grandly toward the Solomon mirror. "By dawn, Gotham's sanity will come undone," finished his brother. Batman could see they were right. The mirror network was already active, broadcasting subtle signals that would grow stronger with each passing hour. By morning, the entire city could be experiencing mass hallucinations, creating panic and confusion that would bring Gotham to its knees. "Who helped you build this?" Batman demanded, his voice still measured despite the urgency. "This technology is beyond your expertise." The twins exchanged identical grins. "A gentleman never tells," they chorused together, then burst into peals of laughter that echoed dissonantly through the mirrored chamber. "But we'll give you a sporting chance," Tweedledum offered, "to solve our little puzzle and stop the dance," added Tweedledee. With theatrical flourish, both twins produced small remote controls and pressed them simultaneously. The floor beneath Batman shifted suddenly as hidden mechanisms activated. The entire chamber began to rotate, the surrounding mirrors spinning slowly at first, then faster, creating a whirling kaleidoscope of fragmented images. "Round and round the Batman goes," sang Tweedledum. "Where he stops, nobody knows," finished Tweedledee, as both twins backed away through hidden passages in the spinning room. Batman maintained his position near the Solomon mirror, which remained stationary despite the rotation around it. The twins' retreat was opportunistic rather than necessary. They knew he wouldn't leave the central control device unattended to pursue them. "Alfred, I need to disable this network without destroying the mirrors. They appear to be linked in a synchronized system. Breaking one might trigger fail-safes in the others." "A wise assessment, sir," Alfred replied. "Perhaps the control mechanism can be reprogrammed rather than disabled entirely." Batman examined the base of the Solomon mirror, finding a sophisticated control panel hidden beneath ornate carvings. "It's a distributed network. Each mirror acts as both receiver and transmitter. The Solomon mirror is the master control, but it's protected by redundancies." As he spoke, the spinning room began to slow, settling into a new configuration. The passages through which the twins had escaped were now hidden behind seamless mirrors, and new pathways had opened. The blue light continued to pulse, now synchronized with a low humming sound that seemed to vibrate through the entire structure. "They've activated the next phase," Batman noted, checking the readings on his cowl's display. "The signal strength is increasing exponentially. We have less than 3 hours before it reaches full broadcast power. Perhaps Commissioner Gordon should be alerted. A city-wide warning might mitigate some of the panic when citizens begin experiencing hallucinations." Batman considered this as he carefully removed a panel from the Solomon mirror's base. "Not yet. A premature warning might cause the very panic we're trying to prevent, and the twins would simply accelerate their timeline." The control system was ingenious in its complexity, a hybrid of antique mechanical components and cutting-edge electronics. Batman recognized elements of Tetch's work, but there were other influences as well. Whoever had designed this system had an intimate knowledge of multiple technologies and how to blend them seamlessly. Rain continued to drum on the roof of the House of Mirrors, creating a soothing backdrop to the tension within. Batman worked methodically, tracing circuits and analyzing code sequences, looking for the vulnerability that must exist in even the most sophisticated system. "Sir," Alfred's voice came through after several minutes of silence. "I've been reviewing the historical documentation on the Carnival families. The Solomons were known for their illusions and escape artistry. In fact, the last remaining descendant still performs occasionally, Elias Solomon, who bills himself as the Great Escapist." Batman paused in his work. Solomon, the mirror's original owner, too specific to be coincidence. He accessed the Bat computer through his cowl's interface. Location on Elias Solomon. Last known address is an apartment above the old Magic Lantern Theater, just 3 blocks from your current location. The theater closed 5 years ago, but property records show he still owns the building. "Might be involved, willingly or otherwise," Batman concluded. "The twins aren't capable of this level of technical sophistication. They needed an expert in both illusion and electronics." The pulsing blue light suddenly shifted to a deeper purple, and the humming intensified. On the Solomon mirror's surface, the image of Gotham began to fracture along neighborhood boundaries, suggesting the hallucination effect would be customized for different parts of the city. "The system is adapting," Batman observed, "becoming more sophisticated. I need to find Solomon before this progresses further." He placed small signal jammers around the Solomon mirror, not enough to disable it, but sufficient to slow its broadcast strength temporarily. The spinning room had created new pathways through the House of Mirrors, but Batman's markers allowed him to navigate the ever-changing labyrinth with precision. The rain outside had intensified, its constant patter against the building's ancient roof, creating a white noise that masked his movements through the corridors. "Be cautious, sir," Alfred advised. According to these records, Elias Solomon worked with the twins early in his career. There may be more connection between them than mere technical consultation. Batman exited the House of Mirrors through a maintenance tunnel that connected to the old sewer system, just as Alfred had predicted. The tunnels were damp but navigable, their brickwork dating back to Gotham's earliest days. Water trickled along channels designed by engineers who had built for centuries rather than decades, their craftsmanship ensuring that even in the heaviest downpour, these passages remained functional. The Magic Lantern Theater rose from Gotham's carnival district like a faded dowager among showgirls. Its architecture spoke of an earlier, more elegant era of entertainment, when magic shows and vaudeville acts had drawn crowds from across the eastern seaboard. Now its marquee hung empty, and water stained its ornate facade. The carved masks of comedy and tragedy that flanked the entrance, worn smooth by decades of Gotham's harsh weather. Batman approached from the roof, the rain providing cover as he moved silently across the weathered tiles. A single window at the top floor showed light, a warm amber glow that contrasted with the cold blue emanating from the House of Mirrors nearby. "The apartment appears occupied," he sub-vocalized to Alfred. "Sensors show one heat signature, consistent with an adult male. Proceed with caution, sir. If Solomon is, indeed, the technical mind behind this scheme, he may have defenses in place." The window was unlocked, another invitation, like the door to the House of Mirrors had been. Batman slipped inside, finding himself in a cluttered workshop where antique illusion devices shared space with modern electronics. The walls were lined with mirrors of various sizes and designs, though none had the elaborate ornamentation of the stolen historical pieces. Seated at a workbench in the center of the room was an elderly man, his fingers moving with surprising dexterity as he adjusted the mechanism of a small handheld mirror. He didn't look up as Batman entered, but spoke as if continuing a conversation already in progress. "You're earlier than I expected," Elias Solomon remarked, his voice carrying the refined diction of an earlier era. "The signals from the House of Mirrors suggested you'd be occupied for at least another hour." Batman remained in the shadows near the window. "You've been monitoring me." "Monitoring everyone, dear boy. That's rather the point of the exercise." Solomon finally looked up, his eyes magnified by thick glasses that gave him an owlish appearance. Despite his advanced age, there was nothing frail about his bearing or expression. The Tweed boys lack subtlety, but they do have enthusiasm and financial backing, which is so important these days. "You designed the mirror network," Bateman stated rather than asked. Solomon smiled slightly. "An oversimplification, but essentially correct. I merely adapted technology that already existed. Jervis Tetcher's neural interfaces, mirror configurations from my family's old stage illusions, and a dash of modern wireless communications. The true innovation was in how they worked together. To create mass hallucinations across Gotham," Batman concluded. "Why?" The elderly illusionist sighed, placing his tools down with precision. "Why does anyone do anything in this benighted city? Some for power, some for wealth, some simply because chaos is its own reward." He removed his glasses, polishing them methodically with a silk cloth. "My reasons are somewhat more personal." Batman moved closer, noting the photographs that lined one wall of the workshop, images spanning decades, showing a younger Elias Solomon performing with various partners, including two rotund young men who were unmistakably Tweedledum and Tweedledee in their youth. "You trained them," Batman realized, "before they turned to crime." "Right, boys. In their way," Solomon acknowledged. "Limited imagination, but excellent memory and timing, essential qualities for stage illusion." He replaced his glasses and regarded Batman with clinical interest. "Did you disable the Solomon mirror?" "Temporarily impeded its broadcast strength," Batman answered. "You know I can't allow this plan to proceed." Rain drummed against the workshop's windows, creating streaks that distorted the view of Gotham beyond, a city already beginning to waver between reality and illusion as the mirror network's influence spread subtly through neighborhoods and districts. Solomon nodded, unsurprised. "Of course you can't. That's your role in this performance. The Tweed boys don't understand, but I always knew you would be the counterbalance." He gestured to the cluttered workbench. "Why do you think I left this workshop so accessible? The schematics for the entire network are right here." Batman's eyes narrowed behind his cowl. "You wanted me to find this place." "Wanted?" Solomon laughed softly. "My dear Batman, I orchestrated it. The clues, the unlocked entrances, even the timing of the system activation. A good illusion requires not just a performer, but a specific audience." He spread his hands. "And you are the audience for whom this entire illusion was designed." The implications of Solomon's statement settled over the room like the mist that clung to Gotham's streets below. "This isn't about creating chaos in Gotham," Batman said slowly. "The mirror network, the twins' crime spree, it's all misdirection. "What are you really doing, Solomon?" The elderly illusionist's smile deepened with genuine appreciation. "This is why you're the perfect audience. You see beyond the obvious effect to question the underlying mechanism." He stood with surprising grace for his age, moving to a covered object in the corner of the workshop. "Do you know why my family's mirrors were so sought after by Gotham's elite a century ago? Historical records suggest they were prized for their clarity and craftsmanship," Batman replied, watching Solomon carefully. "A convenient explanation for public consumption," Solomon nodded. "The truth, as is often the case in Gotham, was somewhat darker. My ancestors discovered a method of creating mirrors that did more than reflect light. They reflected possibilities." He pulled the cover away, revealing an ornate mirror, similar to the Solomon mirror in the House of Mirrors, though smaller and more intricately designed. "This is the first mirror my great-grandfather created after establishing his workshop in Gotham," Solomon explained, his tone taking on the cadence of a performer addressing an audience. "The twins didn't steal this one because they didn't know it existed. It's the master control. The Solomon mirror you found is merely the public-facing interface." The mirror's surface seemed to ripple slightly, though there was no breeze in the workshop to disturb it. Batman's enhanced vision detected subtle energy patterns emanating from its frame, not electrical or magnetic, but something his senses couldn't properly categorize. "What exactly do these mirrors do, Solomon?" he asked, his voice remaining calm despite the growing concern. The elderly illusionist regarded his creation with something approaching reverence. "They create a bridge between perception and reality. The hallucinations aren't just visual tricks, they're glimpses of alternate possibilities, ways Gotham might have developed if different choices had been made at critical junctures in its history." As if to demonstrate, the mirror's surface shifted to show a version of Gotham that seemed brighter, its architecture more harmonious, its streets free of the shadows that typically defined the city. Then it changed again, displaying a darker Gotham, where Wayne Tower had never been built, the skyline dominated instead by industrial smokestacks and fortress-like structures. "Fascinating technology," Batman acknowledged, "but it doesn't explain why you've orchestrated this elaborate scheme." Solomon turned away from the mirror, his expression growing serious. "I'm dying, Batman. Pancreatic cancer, quite advanced. Modern medicine offers no solutions." He gestured to the photographs on the wall. "I've outlived everyone I ever cared about. My family's legacy was being forgotten, our art dismissed as mere entertainment. The Tweed Boys presented an opportunity to revive that legacy in spectacular fashion. By terrorizing the city," Batman challenged, though his tone held no judgment. "By reminding Gotham of possibilities," Solomon corrected. "The hallucinations your citizens will experience aren't random. They're calibrated to each neighborhood, showing people glimpses of what their communities could become, for better or worse." He approached his workbench again, retrieving a small device that resembled an ornate pocket watch. "The effect is temporary, lasting only 24 hours, but the memory of those possibilities, that can change how people see their city permanently." Batman studied the elderly illusionist, recognizing the particular clarity that often came to those facing their mortality. "You could have approached Wayne Enterprises with this technology, found legitimate applications," Solomon laughed softly, "and been buried in non-disclosure agreements. Had my life's work dissected by corporate lawyers? No, Batman. An illusionist reveals his methods only at the end of his final performance." He held out the watch-like device. This can deactivate the entire network safely. The Tweeds don't know it exists. They believe the system can only be shut down from the Solomon mirror in the House of Mirrors. Batman made no move to take the offered device. Why give this to me? Why orchestrate this entire scenario if you're now offering to end it? Rain continued to drum against the windows, its rhythm oddly soothing in the tense atmosphere of the workshop. Solomon's expression softened, showing the weariness behind his performance. Because every great illusion requires 3 parts, he explained. The pledge, where the magician shows you something ordinary. The turn, where that ordinary thing becomes extraordinary. And finally, the prestige, where the seemingly impossible is revealed to have been possible all along. He placed the device carefully on the workbench between them. The twins provided the pledge with their crime spree. The mirror network is the turn, making Gotham see itself differently. You, Batman, are my prestige, the element that returns order while preserving the wonder of possibility. Batman approached the workbench slowly, and if I use this device, the hallucination effect ends immediately. The historical mirrors return to normal reflective surfaces, valuable only for their craftsmanship and provenance. Solomon's eyes held a hint of mischief behind his thick glasses. The Tweed boys will be very disappointed, of course. They were quite looking forward to watching Gotham descend into confusion. Where are they now? Batman asked, his hand hovering over the deactivation device. Solomon's smile widened slightly. Where else? Waiting at the House of Mirrors to witness their masterpiece unfold. They have no idea I've spoken with you or provided this alternative. This aligned with what Batman had already surmised. The twins' theatrical nature would demand they watch their plan reach fruition. He picked up the device, examining it carefully with his cowl's scanning technology. It appeared to be exactly what Solomon claimed, a control mechanism that could safely terminate the mirror network's broadcast. A final question, Batman said, looking directly at the elderly illusionist. Why involve the twins at all? Why not execute this plan yourself? Solomon settled back into his chair with the air of a performer who had successfully completed a difficult routine. Every magician needs assistance, Batman, especially one as old and frail as I've become. The twins provided the physical presence this illusion required. The diversions, the thefts, the technical installations. And they've always had a particular talent for chaos that complements my preference for order. He gestured toward the window, where Gotham stretched out beneath the continuing downpour. Besides, their childish enthusiasm reminds me of a time when illusions still seemed magical to me, before I understood all the mechanisms and misdirections. They believe in the performance in ways I no longer can. Batman activated his comm. Alfred, I'm sending you scans of a deactivation device for the mirror network. Analysis? After a brief pause, Alfred's voice came through. It appears genuine, sir. The signal it would generate matches the frequency that could safely deactivate the network without damaging the historical artifact. And Solomon's condition. Another pause. Medical records confirm advanced pancreatic cancer. Prognosis is not favorable. Weeks rather than months. Batman pocketed the device and turned toward the window. The police will be coming for the twins. Your involvement in this scheme? Solomon spread his hands in a gesture of resignation. I'll be here, Batman. My final performance is complete. The law can take whatever time remains to me. As Batman prepared to depart, Solomon called out once more. One last professional courtesy, from one guardian of secrets to another. The device has a secondary function. If you press the center dial 3 times, it will not just deactivate the network but recalibrate it. The hallucinations will shift from random possibilities to positive ones only, a parting gift to Gotham, should you choose to accept it. Batman paused at the window, rain streaming down his cape. Why tell me this? The elderly illusionist's smile held a hint of sadness. Because every good performance should leave its audience with a choice. That's what separates mere trickery from true artistry. He gestured to the photographs on his wall. I've spent my life creating illusions that make people question their perceptions. Just once, before I die, I'd like to create one that offers hope instead of doubt. Without responding, Batman slipped out into the rain, the deactivation device secure in his utility belt. The downpour had intensified, turning Gotham's streets into rivers of reflected light and shadow. In the distance, the House of Mirrors glowed with increasing intensity, its blue light now visible as a column, rising into the storm clouds above. Alfred, alert Gordon about the twins' location. Have ambulances standing by. The sudden deactivation of the network might disorient anyone who's already experiencing the hallucination effect. Already done, sir. The Commissioner is coordinating a quiet approach to avoid alerting our rotund miscreant. Batman made his way through the rain-swept Carnival district, his thoughts turning over Solomon's final offer. The technology was remarkable, potentially beneficial or harmful depending on how it was employed. Like most powerful tools, its morality depended entirely on the intentions of those who wielded it. The House of Mirrors loomed before him once again, its blue light now pulsing with an almost hypnotic rhythm. Batman entered through a different access point this time, bypassing the labyrinth entirely by using maintenance passages that ran above the maze. From this vantage, he could see the entire layout, and the twins, standing proudly beside the Solomon mirror in the central chamber. Tweedledum and Tweedledee were watching the mirror's surface with childlike excitement, pointing at the changing images of Gotham as different neighborhoods began experiencing the early stages of the hallucination effect. Their round faces shone with delight in the blue light, unaware that their grand performance was about to reach an unexpected final act. Batman dropped silently into the chamber behind them, landing without a sound despite the water dripping from his cape and cowl. "It's over," he said simply. The twins spun around with surprising agility for men of their build, their identical expressions of shock almost comical in their symmetry. "The Batman returns to spoil our fun," Tweedledum exclaimed. "The night has barely just begun," Tweedledee added indignantly. "Solomon told you everything, didn't he?" Tweedledum's expression shifted from surprise to betrayal. "The old man's gone soft before he's done," Tweedledee lamented with genuine disappointment. Batman held up the deactivation device. "This ends now. No one else gets hurt." The twins exchanged a look of perfect understanding, then simultaneously reached for controls hidden in their colorful waistcoats. The mirrors surrounding the chamber began to rotate again, faster than before, creating a disorienting whirl of reflections and fragmented images. "Round and round and round we go," they chanted together, their voices echoing off the spinning mirrors. "Catch us, Batman, if you can." But Batman remained perfectly still, unaffected by the disorienting effect. His training had prepared him for far more sophisticated attempts at perceptual manipulation. He waited until the twins realized their trick had failed, their smug expressions faltering. "Your games have consequences," he told them calmly. "People have been injured, businesses damaged. All for what? To help an old man reclaim faded glory?" The twins' identical faces showed genuine confusion. "Faded glory," Tweedledum sputtered. "You don't understand the story," Tweedledee insisted. Solomon taught us everything we know, Tweedledum explained with unexpected earnestness. This plan was our way to help him go, finished Tweedledee, his usual mocking tone replaced by something approaching sincerity. The twins moved away from the Solomon mirror, their theatrical posturing abandoned. He's dying, Tweedledum said simply. This final show is his goodbye, added Tweedledee. Batman studied them carefully. Despite their theatrical criminality, there was genuine emotion in their reaction. Not just disappointment at a failed scheme, but sorrow for their mentor. Solomon knew I would stop this plan, he told them. He orchestrated this entire scenario knowing how it would end. The twins' expressions shifted from confusion to dawning comprehension. The perfect illusion, Tweedledum murmured. The audience never sees the true conclusion, Tweedledee nodded with professional appreciation. Batman approached the Solomon mirror, the deactivation device in hand. The images on its surface were spreading further across Gotham's map, neighborhoods beginning to glow with the distinctive blue light that signified the hallucination effect taking hold. Gave you a choice, didn't he? Tweedledum asked, suddenly perceptive. Not just to end the show, but to choose how it goes, Tweedledee elaborated, watching Batman's hand hover over the device. Rain continued to drum on the roof of the House of Mirrors, its rhythm a soothing counterpoint to the humming of the activated mirror network. Batman looked at the device in his hand, then at the twins, who watched him with unexpected solemnity. Solomon said every performance should offer its audience a choice, Batman acknowledged. He also said the hallucinations could be recalibrated to show only positive possibilities. The twins nodded in perfect unison. The final act, Tweedledum said softly. Where wonder overcomes fact, added Tweedledee. In that moment, Batman made his decision. He pressed the center dial of the device 3 times, as Solomon had instructed. The blue light emanating from the Solomon mirror shifted gradually to a warmer gold, and the humming tone changed to something more harmonious. On the mirror's surface, the image of Gotham transformed, not into something unrecognizable, but into a version of itself where shadow and light balanced more evenly, where the city's inherent beauty emerged from beneath layers of grime and neglect. It was still Gotham, with all its complexity and contradictions, but seen through a lens of possibility rather than resignation. What have you done? Tweedledum asked, watching the changing images with wonder. Shown Gotham not what is, but what could become, Tweedledee answered, understanding before Batman could explain. For 24 hours, Batman confirmed, the city will see itself differently. What happens after that depends on the citizens themselves, whether they choose to pursue those possibilities or return to old patterns. The twins approached the Solomon mirror, their usual mischief temporarily set aside as they watched Gotham transform in the reflection. Old Solomon always said, Tweedledum began reflectively, the greatest illusion is the one we believe, Tweedledee finished. The sound of police sirens became audible in the distance, drawing closer to the carnival district. The twins sighed in identical resignation, turning away from the mirror to face Batman. We surrender with theatrical grace, Tweedledum announced with a formal bow. Though prison lacks proper mirror space, Tweedledee lamented. Batman activated his comm. Gordon, the situation is under control. The mirror network has been adjusted. It will deactivate automatically in 24 hours with no harmful effect. Adjusted. Alfred's voice came through with clear curiosity. Rather than disabled entirely, Solomon offered a choice. Batman explained simply, I made it. As the police entered the House of Mirrors, Batman directed them to the central chamber, where the twins waited with unusual compliance. The Solomon mirror continued to glow with golden light, its surface showing Gotham not as it was, but as it could be. A city where the balance between light and shadow tilted just slightly toward hope. Later, as dawn approached and the rain finally began to ease, Batman stood on a rooftop overlooking the Carnival district. The effect of the recalibrated mirror network was subtle but unmistakable. Across Gotham, people were seeing glimpses of possibility layered over familiar reality. Not hallucinations that distorted truth, but visions that expanded it, showing potential within the existing framework of the city. "A most unusual resolution, sir," Alfred commented through the comm. "Do you believe Mr. Solomon's technology will have the positive effect he claimed?" Batman watched as the first rays of sunlight broke through the dissipating storm clouds, catching on the countless wet surfaces of Gotham and transforming the city into a realm of light and reflection. "I believe in possibility, Alfred, in the power of seeing beyond what is to what could be. Rather profound for a night spent chasing carnival criminals," Alfred observed with gentle humor. "Sometimes wisdom comes from unexpected sources," Batman acknowledged. "Solomon spent his life creating illusions that made people question reality. In the end, he created one that might help them improve it." As the day brightened around him, Batman prepared to return to the manor. The Tweed twins were in custody, the historical mirrors would be returned to their rightful places, and Gotham had 24 hours to see itself through a different lens, to glimpse possibilities that typically remained hidden beneath layers of habit and resignation. It was, as Solomon had described, the perfect final act, not an ending, but an invitation to imagine something new. In a city defined by its shadows, even a temporary shift in perspective might illuminate paths previously unseen, possibilities overlooked in the constant struggle between order and chaos. Batman's cape dried slowly in the emerging sunlight as he made his way home, leaving behind a Gotham temporarily transformed not by fear or violence, but by the simple, powerful magic of seeing itself differently. Whatever came next would be the city's choice, but for today at least, that choice would be made in the light of possibility rather than the shadow of resignation. The soft golden glow emanating from windows across Gotham followed him home, a reminder that sometimes the most profound changes begin not with grand gestures of heroism, but with a simple shift in how we see the world around us, and the possibilities that have been there all along, waiting to be recognized. As the gentle golden light of possibility faded across Gotham with the coming of a new evening, the city returned to its familiar rhythms. The Carnival district grew quiet once more, the House of Mirrors standing dark and still, under a sky now clear of rain clouds. The twins' elaborate illusions had dissipated like morning mist, leaving behind only memories of what might be possible when perception shifts beyond the ordinary. In the peaceful stillness of Wayne Manor, Bruce sat in the library, reflecting on Solomon's final gift to the city, not chaos, but a brief glimpse of potential. Alfred approached with a steaming cup of tea, placing it carefully on the side table. "A most unusual case concluded, sir," the butler observed, his tone carrying that perfect balance of formality and familiarity that had defined their relationship for decades. "Though I must admit, the city seems somehow lighter today." Bruce nodded, watching how the lamplight played across the room's dark wood paneling. Solomon understood something profound about Gotham, Alfred, that sometimes seeing differently is the first step toward becoming different. Indeed, sir, though I suspect our next challenge may require a different kind of perception altogether. Alfred placed a newspaper beside the teacup, its headline visible beneath a photograph of a nondescript man with a wooden dummy perched unnervingly on his knee. The ventriloquist has resurfaced, Bruce noted, studying the image with practiced attention to detail. Where the twins had brought playful chaos, Arnold Wesker always carried a more unsettling kind of madness, a fractured psyche projected through his wooden companion Scarface. Where mirrors reflected what might be, puppets spoke what could not be said directly. Different adversary, different darkness, Alfred remarked, though perhaps the same city, still in need of its guardian. Bruce set aside the newspaper and rose, moving toward the grandfather clock that concealed the entrance to the cave. Night was falling across Gotham once more, bringing with it new mysteries to unravel and shadows to navigate. The distant sound of a music box seemed to drift through Gotham's evening air, a simple, haunting melody that spoke of strings being pulled and words being spoken through others. As Batman prepared to face this new challenge, he carried with him the understanding that had come from the House of Mirrors, that reality itself was malleable, shaped by perception and possibility. The story of the puppet master and his dangerous dummy was about to unfold in Gotham's darkened streets, a tale of fractured identity and voices that emerged from the most unexpected sources. Rain cascaded down the Gothic architecture of Gotham City, transforming gargoyles into weeping sentinels that watched over the streets below. The persistent patter against windows created a hypnotic rhythm, broken only by the occasional rumble of thunder that rolled across the sky like distant drums. Inside Wayne Manor, Bruce Wayne stood before the tall library windows, watching sheets of water transform his garden into a glistening wonderland of reflected light. There was something calming about rain in Gotham, a cleansing quality that, if only for a few hours, seemed to wash away the city's perpetual grime. "Sir?" Alfred's voice came softly from the doorway. "I've prepared some tea. Chamomile with honey, good for contemplative evenings." Bruce turned, offering a rare smile to his faithful companion. "Thank you, Alfred. Any updates from the cave?" Alfred placed the silver tray on the mahogany side table, the china cups barely making a sound as they settled. "Indeed. The computer has finished analyzing those peculiar crime scene photographs from Detective Montoya. Most curious findings." He poured the amber liquid with practiced precision. 3 separate crime family lieutenants, each found bound with what appear to be puppet strings. Bruce accepted the cup, inhaling the soothing aroma before taking a careful sip. "Puppet strings," he repeated thoughtfully. "Any connection to our old acquaintance, Arnold Wesker?" "That was my first thought as well," Alfred agreed, his expression growing concerned. "The ventriloquist hasn't been seen since his release from Arkham 6 months ago. His doctors claimed remarkable progress with his treatment." "They always do," Bruce replied, his voice carrying no judgment, only weary experience. The rain intensified outside, creating a curtain of water that blurred the estate grounds into impressionistic smudges of green and grey. "What else did Montoya's files show?" Alfred's posture straightened slightly, shifting from companion to professional ally. Each victim was found with a small wooden splinter embedded in their palm. Forensics confirmed its high Queely maple, the kind used in premium ventriloquist dummies. Bruce set down his teacup with deliberate care. "He's made a new Scarface, so it would seem. Alfred nodded solemnly, though this time his methods appear more sophisticated. According to Detective Montoya's notes, the crime family lieutenants weren't merely attacked, they were found making substantial withdrawals from their family accounts before their disappearance. Upon recovery, each claimed no memory of the transactions. The implications settled between them like the gathering storm clouds outside. Bruce turned back to the rain-streaked windows, his reflection fragmenting in the rivulets of water. He's not just attacking them, he's controlling them, making them puppets. A concerning escalation, Alfred agreed. The psychological profile from Arkham suggested Mr. Wesker was developing a more nuanced understanding of manipulation. His doctors believed this insight would help him overcome his dependency on Scarface. Perhaps instead, he's learned to extend his control beyond the dummy, Bruce finished, to turn people into his puppets. The quiet that followed was punctuated only by the rhythmic drumming of rain against the manor's ancient stone. Bruce watched lightning flash across the Gotham skyline in the distance, illuminating the city's jagged profile for a breathtaking moment before darkness reclaimed it. "I should be out there," he said finally. Alfred's reflection appeared beside his own in the window. "Even Batman deserves a moment of peace with a cup of tea, sir. Besides, the Batmobile's systems are still calibrating after the upgrades. Another hour, perhaps?" His voice carried gentle insistence. "The rain has a way of bringing clarity, if we allow it time to do its work." Bruce recognized the wisdom in Alfred's words. Sometimes, the most effective action was patient observation, a lesson he'd learned through years of experience. He returned to his tea, savoring its warmth as thunder rolled again across the Gotham sky. "Tell me more about Wesker's treatment," he said finally. "What exactly did his doctors think they'd accomplished?" Alfred retrieved a tablet from the tea tray. "I took the liberty of accessing his confidential file. Dr. Leland believed they'd helped him integrate the Scarface personality with his own, a form of acceptance rather than suppression. The theory was that by acknowledging Scarface as an aspect of himself, rather than an external entity, Wesker could gain control. A dangerous gamble, Bruce observed, if it backfired. Indeed, Alfred's expression grew troubled. Instead of Wesker controlling Scarface, the integration could have given Scarface unprecedented access to Wesker's full intellectual capabilities. The limitations of communicating through a wooden dummy would be removed. Bruce's mind was already analyzing patterns, possibilities. The puppet strings on the crime lieutenants, they're symbolic. He's showing us that he's graduated from wooden puppets to human ones. He placed his empty cup on the tray. "We need to find him, Alfred, before his influence spreads further into Gotham's underworld." As if in response, a notification chimed softly from Alfred's tablet. "Detective Montoya has sent an update. Another victim has been found, this time Sebastian Maroni, the youngest son of the Maroni family. Same puppet strings, same wooden splinter, but there's something new." Alfred's eyebrows raised slightly. "A calling card of sorts. A small paper ticket to a performance at the Monarch Theatre. The Monarch has been closed for renovation for months," Bruce said, already moving toward the hidden entrance to the Batcave. "No performance is scheduled." "The ticket has a date, sir," Alfred called after him. "Tonight." The rain continued its steady percussion as Bruce descended into the cave's familiar embrace. Water trickled down the natural stone formations, creating a symphony of gentle drips that echoed through the vast space. The cave always felt most alive during rainstorms, as if the elements themselves were acknowledging the thin membrane between Bruce Wayne's world and Batman's. The Batsuit waited silently in its chamber, patient and expectant. As Bruce approached, he allowed his thoughts to organize themselves into the methodical patterns that defined Batman's consciousness. The ventriloquist had always been a complex adversary, not because of physical threat, but because Arnold Wesker himself was as much a victim as a perpetrator. The true enemy was Scarface, a manifestation of dissociated rage and cruelty that used Wesker as its vehicle. But now, it seemed, Scarface had expanded his stage and cast of characters. No longer content with controlling just Wesker, he was reaching for the strings of Gotham's criminal elite. The implications were disturbing, not just for the immediate threat, but for what it revealed about the nature of control and influence in a city already defined by power struggles. As the Batmobile's systems completed their calibration cycle, Batman reviewed the files on the Monarch Theatre. Originally built in the 1920s as a vaudeville venue, it had hosted everything from silent films to experimental theatre before financial troubles forced its closure. The renovation had been funded by an anonymous benefactor, a detail Batman flagged for further investigation. "Sir," Alfred's voice came through the cave's communication system. "I've been examining the historical records of the Monarch. Before its film career, it was known for a rather specific type of performance." "Puppetry," Batman confirmed, having already uncovered the same information. It was home to Gotham's premier marionette company until 1943. Precisely. And I found something else. Architectural plans filed with the city for the renovation. The design includes a rather elaborate backstage area with multiple mechanical systems, ostensibly for modern theatrical effects, but perfect for controlling marionettes on a grand scale, Batman finished. The Batmobile's engines hummed to life, ready to carry him into Gotham's rain-soaked night. "I'm heading there now." "Oh, more things, sir," Alfred added. "I've been analyzing patterns in the financial transactions forced upon the crime lieutenants. They weren't random withdrawals, they were investments. Someone is pooling resources from Gotham's major crime families into a single enterprise." The theater renovation, Batman deduced. It would appear so. The ventriloquist isn't just making a statement, he's building something. The Batmobile surged forward, its specialized tires gripping the wet cave passage with perfect traction. As Batman emerged onto the private road leading from Wayne Manor toward Gotham proper, the rain intensified, creating a silver curtain through which the city lights shimmered like distant constellations. Gotham in the rain possessed a peculiar beauty, reflections doubling every neon sign and streetlight, creating an illuminated mirror world that existed only during these downpours. The Batmobile moved through near-empty streets, most of Gotham's citizens having sought shelter from the storm. Only the most desperate or determined ventured out on nights like this, a reality that made Batman wonder which category he belonged to. The police band radio carried the steady chatter of a city responding to the storm's minor emergencies. Flooded basements, downed power lines, fender benders on slick roads. No reports yet of activity at the Monarch. Batman intended to keep it that way, by arriving before whatever performance Wesker had planned could begin. As he approached the theater district, Batman switched the Batmobile's silent electric mode, allowing the vehicle to glide through the rain with barely a whisper. The Monarch's facade loomed ahead, once a gleaming landmark of Gotham culture, now a shadow of its former grandeur. despite the renovation scaffolding. The marquee remained dark, no announcement of tonight's special performance. Batman parked the Batmobile in a recessed alley 3 blocks away, choosing to approach on foot to better assess the theater's surroundings. The rain masked his movements as he grappled to the rooftops, becoming one more shadow among many in Gotham's perpetual twilight. From above, he could see that the theater appeared deserted, no vehicles parked nearby, no visible security, no lights except for the code-recognizable emergency fixtures glowing faintly around exit doors. But appearances in Gotham were often carefully constructed illusions, a fact Batman never forgot. Using thermal imaging, he scanned the building. The results were puzzling. No human heat signatures registered, yet there was distinct warmth emanating from the theater's basement level, suggesting active mechanical systems. Something was running beneath the seemingly abandoned theater. Batman made his way to the roof access point, picking the updated lock with practiced efficiency. The door opened silently. Recently oiled hinges, he noted. Someone was maintaining this entrance. Inside, the theater's upper catwalk stretched before him like a web of narrow pathways, designed to give technicians access to lighting and rigging systems. In the darkness, with only emergency lights creating pools of dim illumination, these walkways seemed to float in space. He moved silently along the metal grating, cataloging recent modifications. New motorized pulley systems had been installed throughout the rigging, far more than would be needed for standard theatrical productions. Each was connected to a central control system by thin, nearly invisible wires that gleamed faintly when caught in the beam of his cowl's specialized vision modes. "Alfred," he sub-vocalized, activating the cowl's communication system. "The theater has been extensively modified. Automated rigging systems throughout. Puppet controls on an architectural scale." Alfred's voice came through clearly despite the storm. "Any sign of Wesk?" "Not yet. No sign of anyone. But something's running at the basement level." Batman paused, noticing a faint sound beneath the rain's steady drumming against the roof. Music. Old-fashioned calliope music coming from below. He made his way down through the theater's internal structure, passing through the ancient grid that supported lighting instruments, down to the stage level with its worn wooden boards. The music grew louder, a tinny, mechanical melody that belonged to another era, when the monarch had hosted vaudeville and marionette shows. The stage curtains, heavy velvet, recently replaced during the renovation, were drawn closed. Behind them, Batman could detect subtle movement. Not people, but something mechanical, shifting in synchronized patterns. He approached cautiously, alert to any sign of alarm systems or traps. "I've been researching the theater's original marionette shows," Alfred continued through the cowl's communication system. "They were known for a signature performance, the Puppet Master's Symphony. A show where a single puppeteer controlled dozens of marionettes simultaneously through an elaborate mechanical system." The curtains parted slightly as Batman approached, not drawn by human hands, but by motorized systems responding to his proximity. Beyond them, the stage had been transformed into a miniature Gotham City, buildings crafted with remarkable detail, streets laid out with perfect accuracy, tiny streetlights actually illuminating the model with a warm glow. And moving through this miniature Gotham were puppets, dozens of them, each crafted to resemble known figures in the city's criminal hierarchy. They moved with unsettling realism, their joints manipulated by nearly invisible strings that extended upward into the theater's elaborate new rigging system. At the center of this puppet city stood a larger figure, a wooden dummy dressed in an immaculate pinstriped suit, its face carved with exaggerated features and a permanent sneer. Unlike the other puppets, this one appeared to operate independently, moving among the others like a conductor before an orchestra. Scarface. But no sign of Wesker. "Welcome to my theater, Bats," a voice echoed through hidden speakers, the familiar harsh staccato tones of Scarface, but with new clarity and precision. "Like my little city, it's just a model of the real thing. The one I'm taking control of, one puppet at a time." Batman scanned the theater, seeking the source of the voice, the location of the puppeteer. "Where's Wesker?" he demanded. Scarface's wooden laughter filled the space. Poor, simple Wesker. He thought the docs at Arkham were helping him control me. Turns out, they just helped me understand how to control everyone else. The dummy turned in place, its painted face seeming to look directly at Batman, despite having no operator. "See, Bats? People are just like puppets. Find the right strings to pull and they'll dance however you want." Batman moved carefully onto the stage, analyzing the puppet city, noting the precision engineering in every component. This wasn't the work of the psychologically fragile Arnold Wesker he'd encountered before. This showed meticulous planning, advanced technical knowledge, and considerable resources. "The crime families," Batman said, continuing to search for any sign of Wesker's location. "You're turning their lieutenants into your puppets." "Just the beginning," Scarface replied. The dummy moved to a miniature version of Gotham City Hall, placing its wooden hand on the tiny dome. "Soon I'll have strings on judges, commissioners, council members, even the rich boys who think they run this town." As Batman circled the model city, he noticed that each puppet representing a crime family member contained a small receiver, which in this case supplied power, not just flesh technology, that could potentially be mimicking the wooden splinters found in the actual victims. A method of control, perhaps, allowing Wesker to manipulate them remotely. The puppet strings aren't just symbolic, Batman realized aloud. You're using them as a delivery system, nanotechnology embedded through the splinters, allowing you to influence neural pathways. Control through direct biological manipulation. The Scarface dummy applauded, its wooden hands creating a hollow clapping sound. "Give the Bat a prize, figured it out faster than the cops, but then you always were the smart one." The dummy moved to another building in the model city, the GCPD headquarters. Montoya almost got there. Too bad she's about to be reassigned to traffic duty. Amazing what happens when her captain becomes my newest puppet. Batman's cowl was scanning the theater's structure, seeking any shielded areas that might hide Wesker's location. The basement still showed high thermal activity, machinery running, but no human heat signature. He needed to find Wesker before the puppeteer could expand his control further. "This isn't Wesker's psychology," Batman stated, continuing to engage Scarface while his systems worked. "The dissociative identity that created you was rooted in childhood trauma, not technological manipulation. You're showing capabilities he doesn't possess." "Maybe I found some new friends," Scarface replied, the dummy's head tilting in a parody of contemplation. "People who appreciate what a dummy with ambition can accomplish. Turns out there are folks in Gotham who've been studying mind control for years. They just needed someone with the right perspective." Batman's cowl highlighted a shielded chamber beneath the stage, a room that didn't appear on any of the theater's architectural plans, original or renovated. The access point would be hidden, possibly among the elaborate mechanisms controlling the puppet city. "You're working with someone?" Batman concluded. "Who?" Scarface's laugh echoed again through the theater. "Wouldn't you like to know? Maybe it's someone you've danced with before, Bats. Someone who knows how to get inside people's heads." The dummy's arms swept across the miniature city. "But tonight isn't about them. It's about my coming out party. By morning, every crime boss in Gotham will be under my control, and they won't even know it." As the dummy spoke, Batman noticed a subtle change in the miniature city. Tiny vehicles were moving along the streets now, precise replicas of cars belonging to Gotham's major crime families. They were converging on a model of the Iceberg Lounge, Penguin's notorious gathering place for criminal elite. "You've arranged a meeting," Batman realized. "All the family heads in one location." "Smart Bat," Scarface crowed. "While the Penguin thinks he's hosting a peace conference, I'll be turning the whole lot of them into my personal marionettes. One room, one moment, and Gotham's criminal underground belongs to me." Batman needed to find Wesker now. The control room would be close to the stage, allowing direct oversight of the puppet mechanisms. He moved carefully around the edge of the miniature city, scanning for hidden access points. The rain continued its gentle percussion on the theater's roof, creating a soothing backdrop to the calliope music that still played softly through hidden speakers. "Even if you control the crime families," Batman said, maintaining the conversation while his cowl's systems continued their analysis, "you'll still have me to deal with." "Oh, I'm counting on it, Bats," Scarface replied. "Why do you think I left that ticket for Montoya to find? I wanted you here, watching my grand debut, because after tonight, even the great Batman will have to acknowledge my control of Gotham's underworld." The cowl's scan highlighted a seam in the flooring near the back edge of the stage, an access point disguised as part of the architectural detail. As Batman moved toward it, the Scarface dummy turned to track his movement, confirming his suspicion that Wesker was monitoring him through hidden cameras. "Alfred," Batman sub-vocalized. "Contact Montoya. The crime families are meeting at the Iceberg Lounge tonight. Wesker plans to use his control technology on all of them simultaneously." "Understood," Alfred replied quietly. "Though I suspect our ventriloquist friend is monitoring all communications from within that theater. He seems to have thought of everything." Indeed, Scarface's next words confirmed this suspicion. "Go ahead, call your cop friends. By the time they mobilize, my little splinters will be working their magic on every crime boss in the city." The dummy's permanent sneer seemed to deepen. "And as for finding Wesker, he's closer than you think, but further than you'll ever reach." Batman reached the hidden access point, finding it locked with a sophisticated electronic system, another indication that whoever was helping Wesker had considerable resources and expertise. His cowl scanned the lock, beginning the process of decoding its security protocol. "You've always underestimated Wesker," Batman said, keeping Scarface's attention while the decoding continued. "Treated him as nothing more than your puppet. That's your weakness." "Weakness?" Scarface's laugh took on a bitter edge. "Wesker was the weak one, a pathetic, stuttering nobody who couldn't face the world without hiding behind me." The dummy's arms spread wide. "But now I've got bigger puppets to play with. This whole city's my stage." The lock yielded to Batman's decryption, the hidden panels sliding open to reveal a narrow staircase descending into darkness. The calliope music grew louder, its cheerful melody creating an unsettling contrast with the puppet master's sinister plans. "You might want to hurry, Bats," Scarface continued, the dummy now moving to the edge of the model city closest to Batman. The meeting at the iceberg starts in 20 minutes. Once my puppets are in place, it's showtime. Batman descended the stairs, alert for traps or security measures. The passage led to a small control room filled with monitors and elaborate mechanical systems. Cables and wires connected the controls to the puppet mechanisms above, creating a complex web that reminded Batman of a central nervous system appropriate for technology designed to control other minds. But the control room was empty. No Wesker. The monitors showed various views of the theater, the model city, and external feeds, including one displaying the iceberg lounge, where staff were preparing for the evening's meeting. Another screen showed a workshop where dozens of tiny wooden splinters were being loaded into what appeared to be a modified ventilation system. The splinters will be delivered through the air circulation, Batman realized. Mass deployment. Ever again. Give the detective another prize. Scarface's voice came through speakers in the control room, specially designed to embed painlessly. My puppets won't even know they've been tagged until they're already dancing to my tune. Batman began disabling the system, but quickly discovered that the controls in this room were merely relays. The primary control center was elsewhere. This was another decoy, another layer of Wesker's increasingly complex deception. Alfred, Batman communicated. The control room is automated. Wesker is operating remotely. Would explain the unusual pattern of electricity usage I've detected, Alfred replied. There's a secondary location drawing significant power, linked to the theater through a dedicated fiber optic line. After a moment, Alfred continued, I've traced it to an address 3 blocks from the theater, an old watchmaker's shop converted to residential use. Batman left the control room, moving quickly back up to the stage level. The Scarface dummy turned to watch him, its movements now seeming more triumphant. Running out of time, Bats. My little splinters are already on their way to the iceberg's ventilation system. In 15 minutes, every crime boss in Gotham will be under my control. Batman didn't waste time responding. He moved swiftly through the theater and back to the roof, emerging into the continuing rainfall. The water felt cleansing after the puppet theater's unsettling atmosphere, a brief moment of natural reality after Wesker's elaborately constructed illusion. Grappling across the rain-slicked rooftops, Batman made his way to the address Alfred had identified. The old watchmaker's shop sat on a quiet corner, its large display windows now covered with heavy curtains from within. A single light glowed behind those curtains, warm and steady, like a nightlight kept burning against the darkness. Batman scanned the building. Unlike the theater, this location showed a clear human heat signature. Someone sitting perfectly still, in what would have been the shop's back room. The structure had minimal security, just standard locks and alarm systems, which Batman disabled with practiced efficiency. Inside, the former shop had been converted into a living space that instantly struck Batman as familiar. The furniture, the decorations, even the arrangement of personal items were exact duplicates of Arnold Wesker's cell at Arkham. A recreation of the environment where he'd supposedly been cured of his dependence on Scarface. And there, seated in a comfortable armchair with his back to the door, was Arnold Wesker. I knew you'd find me eventually, Wesker said without turning, his voice the gentle, hesitant tone Batman remembered, completely different from Scarface's harsh dialect. You always do. Batman approached cautiously. Wesker made no move to resist or escape, remaining seated with his hands visible resting on the chair's arms. On a small table beside him sat an open laptop, its screen displaying the same feeds Batman had seen in the theater's control room. "The Splinter deployment can be stopped with a single command," Batman said. "Enter it now, Wesker." The man's shoulders slumped slightly. I can't do that, Batman. Scarface wouldn't like it." "Scarface isn't real," Batman replied, moving to see Wesker's face. "He's a manifestation of your own mind. The doctors at Arkham were trying to help you understand that." When Wesker looked up, Batman was struck by the calm clarity in the man's eyes, so different from the nervous, frightened gaze he remembered. "That's where everyone's been wrong, even you," Wesker said softly. "Scarface was never just a part of me. He was always something else. Something that found me when I was vulnerable, looking for a Batman studied Wesker carefully. The man was thinner than he remembered, his features sharper, but his manner more composed. No sign of the nervous stutter that had once punctuated his speech. "The doctors thought they were helping you integrate your personalities," Batman observed. "Instead, they helped Scarface gain greater control." Wesker nodded, a small, sad smile touching his lips. "They meant well, talked about acceptance, about embracing all parts of yourself. But they didn't understand what Scarface really is." He gestured to the laptop. "Now he doesn't need just me anymore. He's found a way to spread, to have many puppets instead of just one." Batman moved toward the laptop. "Who's helping you, Wesker? This technology is beyond your expertise." "I honestly don't know," Wesker admitted. "Scarface made the arrangements. I just follow his instructions now. It's easier that way." His eyes drifted to the window, watching raindrops trace patterns down the glass. "The rain is soothing, isn't it? Sometimes when it rains like this, Scarface gets quiet. Lets me think my own thoughts for a little while." The laptop showed the deployment countdown, 12 minutes until the splinters would be released into the Iceberg Lounge's ventilation system. Batman accessed the control interface, but found it locked behind multiple security protocols. "I need the override code, Wesker," Batman insisted, more firmly now. "I told you I can't," Wesker replied, his voice remaining strangely calm. But you could take me to the iceberg. If I'm there, maybe I can convince him to stop. Sometimes he still listens to me, when I'm very persistent." Batman assessed the situation quickly. Getting Wesker to the iceberg might indeed provide leverage against Scarface's plan, but it could also be placing him exactly where the criminal personality wanted to be, at the center of his grand performance. "There's another option," Batman said, reaching a decision. "We shut down the connection between you and the theater. Without your direction, the automated systems will fail." Wesker shook his head slightly. "It's not that simple anymore. Scarface has evolved. The systems will continue, even without my direct control." He gestured to the laptop again. "See those redundancies? Backup systems, alternative deployment methods. He's thought of everything." Batman verified Wesker's claim. The control system indeed had multiple failsafes and redundancies. Simply cutting the connection wouldn't be enough. He needed to get to the source of the splinters themselves. "Where's the workshop?" Batman demanded. "Where are the splinters being prepared?" "Underneath the iceberg," Wesker revealed, surprising Batman with his willingness to share this information. "Penguin thinks he's hosting a neutral meeting, but Scarface has been preparing for weeks. The splinters are already in the ventilation holding chamber, waiting for the timer to activate the release." This explained the complexity of the plan. Scarface hadn't just arranged for the crime families to gather. He'd compromised Penguin's own venue. turning it into the perfect delivery system for his mind-controlled technology. "Why are you telling me this?" Batman asked, studying Wesker carefully. The thin man's eyes met Batman's directly, something the old Wesker would never have done, because part of me still remembers what it's like to have control of my own mind, to make my own choices. His gaze drifted back to the Rain Street window. "The other Scarface wants to control. They don't deserve that. No one does." Batman accessed the Batmobile remotely, programming it to meet him near their location. "You're coming with me to the iceberg," he decided. "Your inside knowledge of Scarface's plan might be crucial to stopping it." Wesker nodded, rising from his chair with unexpected grace. "He'll be angry," he said quietly. "But maybe that's good. When he's angry, he gets careless, makes mistakes." As they exited the converted shop, the rain had softened to a gentle mist that hung in the air like a veil between worlds. The Batmobile arrived silently, its canopy opening to admit them both. Wesker entered without resistance, settling into the passenger seat with the resigned calm of someone who had long ago accepted his fate. 9 minutes until deployment, Batman noted as the Batmobile accelerated toward the iceberg lounge. "The crime families will already be gathering." "Yes," Wesker confirmed. "Maroni, Falcone, the Russians, even representatives from Black Mask's organization. Penguin promised neutral ground to discuss territory after the recent gang conflicts." He glanced at Batman. "Scarface has been encouraging those conflicts, creating power vacuums, destabilizing the established hierarchy, making them desperate for a solution." The Batmobile wove through Gotham's rain-slicked streets with precision, its specialized tires maintaining perfect traction despite the wet conditions. The iceberg lounge appeared ahead, its distinctive dome illuminated in blue and white, creating the illusion of an actual iceberg rising from Gotham's urban landscape. "Penguin security will be extensive," Batman observed. "The roof access is minimally guarded," Wesker offered. "Scarface needed a way to monitor the ventilation systems. There's a maintenance entrance that's been compromised." Batman adjusted their approach accordingly, bringing the Batmobile to a stop in a service alley 2 blocks from the club. "Stay close," he instructed Wesker. "Any sign that you're working against me, and you'll be back in Arkham before your next breath." Wesker nodded, his expression unchanged. "I understand, but I should warn you, Scarface has contingencies. He always does." They made their way to the roof, using Batman's grapnel. Wesker held securely in the vigilante's grip as they ascended. The iceberg's roof featured a complex ventilation system designed to maintain the club's artificially cool temperature, creating the Arctic atmosphere that was Penguin's signature. "There," Wesker pointed to an access panel partially hidden behind an air conditioning unit. "That leads directly to the central ventilation control." Batman scanned the panel for security measures, finding it just as Wesker had indicated. The locks had been tampered with, allowing easy access. Inside, a narrow maintenance shaft descended toward the building's core systems. 6 minutes to deployment, Batman noted as they made their way down the shaft. "Where exactly is the splinter release mechanism?" "Central Air's circulation chamber," Wesker replied. "Just above the main gathering room. The splinters are in a pressurized container, designed to disperse them evenly throughout the space once released." They reached the central chamber, a large room filled with humming machinery that controlled airflow throughout the iceberg lounge. In the center stood a cylindrical device that hadn't been part of the original system. Sleek, modern technology grafted onto Penguin's elaborate but conventional climate control. Batman approached the device cautiously, scanning it with his cowl's systems. Inside, thousands of tiny wooden splinters floated in a suspension medium, ready to be propelled through the ventilation system at the designated time. The release mechanism is internally shielded, Batman observed. Attempting to disarm it directly could trigger immediate deployment. Yes, Wesker confirmed. Scarface was very specific about that design element. He anticipated your involvement. Batman analyzed the system quickly, looking for vulnerabilities. The ventilation system itself can be shut down, he determined, moving to the main control panel. If air stops flowing, the splinters can't reach their targets. Penguin's system has emergency backups, Wesker warned. Shutting down primary circulation will automatically trigger secondary systems. Not if the emergency triggers are disabled first, Batman countered, already working to bypass the safety protocols that would activate the backup systems. His gauntleted fingers moved with precision across the control panel, systematically isolating each emergency response mechanism before targeting the main system. 4 minutes, Wesker said, watching the countdown on a small display attached to the splinter device. Batman worked methodically, his focus absolute despite the time pressure. One by one, the emergency systems were disabled, their status lights changing from green to red on the control panel. Finally, only the main circulation system remained active. Once I shut this down, the room temperature will rise quickly, Batman warned. The crime families will notice something's wrong. Better warm than mind-controlled. Wesker replied with unexpected clarity. Batman disabled the main circulation system. The omnipresent hum of machinery faded to silence, leaving only the ticking countdown of the splinter device echoing in the now quiet chamber. 3 minutes, Wesker noted. But without air circulation, the deployment won't work. We've stopped it. No, Batman countered, still studying the device. The countdown is continuing. The deployment method has changed. His cowl's analysis revealed the truth. The device had detected the air system shutdown and switched to an alternate delivery method. It's preparing to release a high-pressure burst, strong enough to propel the splinters through the ventilation ducts, even without active air circulation. Wesker's calm facade finally cracked, genuine alarm showing in his eyes. That wasn't part of the plan. Scarface must have added that contingency without telling me. Or someone else did, Batman replied, now working to contain the device without triggering its pressure release. Your mysterious partner has their own agenda. Below them, in the iceberg's main gathering room, the crime family representatives would be noticing the change in temperature, perhaps becoming suspicious. Batman had minutes at most before Penguin's security would begin investigating the ventilation failure. 2 minutes, Wesker said anxiously. Can you disarm it? Not conventionally, Batman determined. But I can contain the blast. He reached into his utility belt, retrieving a specialized foam compound. This will expand to fill the ventilation ducts when exposed to the pressure burst, preventing the splinters from reaching the gathering room. He began applying the compound to the main ventilation outlets, working with controlled urgency. The foam would harden almost instantly when activated, creating an impenetrable barrier for the microscopic splinters. Beats a minute, Wesker warned. Batman finished sealing the final duct just as the sound of security personnel became audible below them. We need to move, he told Wesker. The device is contained, but Penguin's people will be here any second. They headed toward an alternative exit, a maintenance ladder that would take them to a different level of the building, away from the approaching security team. As they climbed, Batman kept one eye on the countdown through his cowl's heads-up display. 30 seconds remained when they reached a service corridor 2 floors above the ventilation room. The distant sounds of the gathered crime families could be heard, raised voices questioning the rising temperature, Penguin's distinctive squawk, assuring them the problem would be fixed momentarily. "We should warn them," Wesker said suddenly, "about Scarface's plan. Even if the splinters are contained, he'll try again." Batman considered this briefly. Exposing the attempt might create enough paranoia to keep the families from trusting any future meetings. Self-preservation will make them more cautious. The countdown reached 0. From below, they heard the muffled thump of the pressure release, followed by the foam's expanding hiss as it solidified within the ventilation system. The containment had worked. The splinters were trapped. But their success was immediately followed by a new development. Alarm systems throughout the iceberg began sounding, and emergency lights flooded the corridors with pulsing red illumination. "That's not a standard security alert," Batman observed. "Something else has been triggered." Wesker's expression changed, a flash of fear crossing his features. Scarface's final contingency. If the primary plan failed. He didn't finish the thought, instead breaking into a run toward the nearest window. "We need to get out, now!" Batman followed, his cowl scanning for whatever threat had Wesker so alarmed. The answer came seconds later. His chemical sensors detected an airborne compound spreading throughout the building. Fear toxin, he realized. Diluted, but effective. If Scarface couldn't control the crime families, it'd make them tear each other apart, Wesker finished. Paranoia, suspicion, fear, in a room full of armed criminals with long-standing grudges. They reached a window overlooking the iceberg's main entrance. Below, chaos was already unfolding. Security personnel were drawing weapons, crime family members were shouting accusations, and in the center of it all stood Penguin, desperately trying to maintain order in his deteriorating neutral ground. "Scarface wanted control," Wesker said softly as they watched the scene below, "but destruction was always his backup plan. If he couldn't have Gotham's underworld, he'd make sure no one else could maintain power either." Batman triggered his cowl's rebreather system, filtering the airborne toxin. "We need to contain this before it spreads beyond the iceberg. The ventilation shutdown will help limit exposure to this building, but everyone inside is already affected." Gunfire erupted below as the fear toxin took stronger hold, criminal alliances dissolving into primal fear and aggression. Batman prepared to intervene, calculating how to disperse an antidote through the building, while minimizing casualties in what was rapidly becoming a war zone. "Take me with you," Wesker said suddenly, his voice finding new strength. "I know how Scarface thinks. I can help." Batman assessed the thin man quickly. Despite everything, Wesker had provided accurate information throughout their encounter. His insight into Scarface's methods might prove valuable in preventing future attacks, and perhaps most importantly, he seemed genuinely disturbed by what his alter ego had planned. "Stay behind me," Batman instructed as they prepared to descend into the chaos below. "And remember, this is about saving lives, not settling scores." Wesker nodded, his expression solemn. "I've been Scarface's puppet long enough. Maybe it's time I pulled some strings of my own." Together, they moved toward the escalating conflict, Batman already calculating how to deploy fear toxin antidote while neutralizing the armed combatants below. The rain continued its gentle patter against the iceberg's dome, nature's persistent rhythm continuing undisturbed by the human drama unfolding beneath it. Hours later, as dawn approached, Batman and Alfred reviewed the night's events in the quiet sanctuary of the Batcave. The iceberg situation had been contained. Penguin's security systems had ultimately helped isolate the building, limiting the fear toxin exposure to those already inside. Batman's antidote dispensers had gradually cleared the air, allowing GCPD to secure the location and separate the affected criminals before any fatalities occurred. An impressive resolution, sir, Alfred noted, placing a fresh cup of tea beside Bruce, who had removed the cowl but still wore the rest of the batsuit. And Mr. Wesker? In GCPD custody, Bruce replied, studying the chemical analysis of the splinters displayed on the Batcomputer's main screen. Montoya is handling him personally, making sure he gets proper psychiatric evaluation before any criminal charges are considered. Do you believe his cooperation was genuine? Alfred asked, his expression thoughtful, or perhaps another of Scarface's manipulations. Bruce considered this question carefully, reviewing Wesker's actions throughout their encounter. I think Wesker has been fighting for control longer than anyone realized. Tonight, he managed to assert himself when it mattered most. Quite the parallel to your own journey, Alfred observed gently. The constant balance between different aspects of oneself, finding harmony between seemingly contradictory impulses. Bruce nodded, acknowledging the insight. The technology in those splinters was sophisticated, beyond anything Wesker could have developed alone. Someone else was using Scarface's influence for their own purposes. A puppet master behind the puppet master, Alfred mused. Any theories? Several, Bruce admitted, but no concrete evidence yet. Whoever it was understood mind control on a neurological level. This goes beyond simple manipulation. The Batcomputer completed its analysis of the splinter components, displaying a molecular structure that seemed faintly familiar. Bruce flagged it for further investigation, adding it to the growing case file. Perhaps most troubling, he continued, is how effectively they exploited Wesker's condition. They didn't just use his technical skills, they leveraged his psychological vulnerability, his relationship with Scarface, to create a perfect cover for their operation, suggesting someone with intimate knowledge of Arkham's patients, Alfred noted. A concerning prospect indeed. Outside the cave, rain still fell across Gotham, gentler now as morning approached, the storm gradually exhausting itself. Bruce found himself listening to its rhythmic percussion against the manor above, finding in it the same soothing quality he'd observed earlier. You were right about the rain, Alfred, he said after a moment. It does bring clarity. Nature has its own wisdom, sir, Alfred replied with a small smile. Sometimes the simplest experiences offer the most profound insights. Bruce rose, finally ready to change out of the batsuit and allow himself a few hours of rest. Have the computer continue analyzing that molecular structure. I want to know if it matches any known chemical compounds developed in Gotham. Of course, sir, Alfred nodded. And might I suggest that after some sleep, perhaps a walk in the garden? The rain will have brought out the most extraordinary fragrances from the spring blossoms. Bruce smiled faintly at the suggestion, Alfred's gentle reminder that there was still beauty in the world worth experiencing, even after nights spent confronting manipulation and control in their darkest forms. I think I'd like that, he agreed, heading toward the changing area. Behind him, the Batcomputer continued its silent work, searching for connections in a case that had revealed as much about the nature of influence and autonomy as it had about crime and Gotham. Like the puppets in Wesker's elaborate theater, Everyone had strings of some kind, connections, influences, relationships that shaped their movements through life. The true question, perhaps, was not whether one had strings, but who was permitted to hold them and how they chose to use that power. As Bruce Wayne prepared for a few hours of well-earned rest, he carried this thought with him, a reminder that true strength came not from controlling others, but from understanding the delicate balance between influence and independence that defined every human relationship. Outside, the gentle rain continued, washing away the night's tensions and preparing Gotham for a new day, one in which its citizens, from crime lords to everyday people, would once again navigate the complex web of connections that bound them together in this enigmatic city that Batman had sworn to protect. And so our tale of Gotham comes to an end. Let the gentle night embrace you as you drift toward peaceful dreams, knowing that somewhere in the darkness, the Dark Knight watches over his city. If you're not asleep yet, we will now play the ambience of Gotham City at night to help you fall asleep. And if you were just listening to our tales, we will see you next time. Good night and sleep well.